Hey gang, usually when game studios are on the decline, a lot of people end up asking, why doesn't this game studio go back to making the kinds of games that they did in the past? And while logically that would make sense because a lot of game studios, they last a long time because they make a lot of good games. Um, I hate to break it to you, but that's generally impossible given the state of where a lot of these game studios end up becoming. And I wanted to talk about the reasons why and generally why I come to the conclusion for a lot of studios where I look at them and I say, this game company, it's probably dead. The studio's dead. So let's get right into that. If you haven't been here before, my name is Ojiro. I've been working in the games industry for a bit over 15 years. I'm a programmer, so on the development side. For those of you that have been here before, welcome back. I appreciate you coming back and giving me your time. And so to start out with, I want to talk about this because we have Suicide Squad shutting down pretty soon. And Rocksteady Games has generally been a very good studio in the past. Um, if we like, I think Arkham City was like its last great creation. So I want to do some comparisons with that to Suicide Squad. But first, I do want to say for any kind of game, you guys need to remember that companies do not build games, people do. And one big thing in the games industry that I would like to show you guys is the attrition rate for people in the games industry is exceptionally high. Right now, if I just believe Google AI, which is generally, I agree with this, where you're looking at like 6.9 years for someone to work in the games industry before they quit. So there are a lot of games now that take 6 years to come to fruition. So you can have some people that start working on a game as it starts. They'll go through the periods of crunch where they're working 60, 80 to 100 hours on a game. And then after that game launches, they're done. Like they might get a launch bonus if it's successful, if that's set up for the company. But a lot of people do not want to work those kinds of hours. They do not want to work in these kinds of environments that are very exploitative. The pay is generally, for a lot of roles for these game companies, pretty bad given the amount of hours you're working. Let's take a look at Rocksteady. Um, have the two big ones here in 2009, 2011, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. And then most recently, we have Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which is universally hated. So if we look over at Metacritic, Arkham City is sitting at like an 8.8 in terms of user reviews. It's generally loved. I got the credits here. There are total staff 598 people credited to this is the Windows version. There's plus and minus a few for the other versions. Uh, Not all of these people work at Rocksteady. This also includes a lot of the publishing staff because basically when a publisher gets involved, they list pretty much everybody on the credits, even if they really didn't do anything. These numbers are going to be bloated whenever you look at these credits on any game. So just something for you to keep in mind, and we'll go over this a little later. And on the other hand, we've got Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League with a user score of 3.4. Everyone has hated this game. It has been a commercial failure on so many levels. I am surprised. It's on season 4 right now. It's a live service game because, of course, it's a live service game. But it's no one's playing it. It is not getting its money's worth given the amount of people that are working on it. And when we look at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, we're looking at 3,540 people attributed to this game. Again, a little over 10 years ago, 600 people max, and this was a bloated number here. And the bloated number for the PlayStation 5 credits for Suicide Squad is 3,500 people. This is an unsustainable number of people. And if we look at the quality of the games, Arkham City was pretty darn good compared to Suicide Squad, where it's a huge step down. Um, I have never heard or seen a studio try and make a game that was not the best that they could possibly put out. So when you guys are thinking of something like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, or any other game by any studio, you need to keep in mind that that is the absolute best that that studio is putting forward. That is their best foot forward. They think it is going to succeed. And I do hear some people that are not in game, or maybe even some people in games that share this opinion, that say the reason this failed is because it's a live service game. And I very much disagree with that kind of logic. As game developers, it is our job to make games. And if someone says you need to make a game with like a battle pass, okay, you still make a good game. You just throw a battle pass on there with like cosmetics. It's not super difficult. So when you see these companies that are coming out with these really bad live service games, it, it's just that they're not creatively good at making games. Like that is literally their best. Because as much as people were like live service games, we hate them. Generally, everyone loved Helldivers 2 when it came out before the whole like Sony brouhaha and the community managers, attacking players because of course it's a community manager. So what I've done, I got I took those credits and I wrote some Python to just figure out how many people working at, on the original game of Arkham City worked on Suicide Squad, and also to check how many people that worked on that game are even still at Rocksteady. So I'll link this code if you want to look at it. I put in some notes on how to run it and like some logic on like what I was trying to do, and a couple of input files. Like Arkham City's here. It's just a list of names. Suicide Squad's just a list of names, and I only put the names in here of people that were listed as working at Rocksteady. So none of the support staff or contractors are listed here. This is just the Rocksteady staff. So if we do that, and I run through my logic and I go to the bottom here, covered it up. My bad. Hold on. Let me move my thing here. Okay, here we go. So for the number of people that worked on Batman Arkham City, 139 people at Rocksteady. That's it. Number of Rocksteady staff that worked on Suicide Squad is 512. Only 61 people that worked on Arkham City are working on Suicide Squad, which means of the original people that were there, only 43.88% still work at Rocksteady. And that also means that 11.9% of the folks that worked on Suicide Squad worked on their like best game of Arkham City. So 9 out of 10 people that are working at Rocksteady Games have not worked on a great game. At least a great game at Rocksteady. So this is over 10 years later. Almost everyone's gone. I did not put in the logic to be like, what discipline do these people work for, to figure out if they're engineers or artists or designers. I just didn't want to write that much code right now. I wanted to just do a quick, let's look at a head count kind of perspective. So that's what we're looking at here. Another thing that I've seen crop up over time with a lot of company culture is certain departments, maybe not necessarily the whole company or the whole game studio, but the certain departments will basically take this attitude of gamers are the enemy and they don't like their consumers. I had someone in my last video's comment section point out a like a lore designer that's working on Witcher. And this is the kind of stuff he's saying, where he's like, "Oh, we're gonna punch gamers." Who works as a franchise and lore designer for CG Project Red, and then saying things like, "Yeah, gamers are bad enough already," or um, like, I'm just not going to read all this. This is too much. But they hate the people they're trying to sell their games to, and they make it very clear they hate them on social media. And I look at these people, and to me, I'm like, this person's unhireable, because I cannot, in the kind of economy we're in, where so many people are having like cash flow issues, and we're trying to sell a lot of these AAA games for like $60 or $70. And then we've got people that are like, "Oh yeah, I hate you, but please give me $70." It's delusional. And a lot of this attitude isn't just limited to certain individuals. We see it in entire departments. We saw it in the art department for Avowed, which was Obsidian Entertainment, where the art director was saying a bunch of stuff that was discriminatory online. And of course, he was saying it on Blue Sky, because people are like, "Oh, it's Blue Sky. I can say whatever I want. It doesn't matter." Like, people don't have the ability to look at the internet. And it's flat out wrong. And then we had Slack messages from that team leak, where you had individuals on that team that were mocking people that had different political views. And this idea in the games industry right now, where we have certain people that look at folks and they judge them based on their personal beliefs, and treat it as, well, screw those people because they don't agree with me. That is the completely wrong mindset for a lot of people to have. But we still see leads and directors that are teaching their juniors that this is the way that you need to behave. And it's really toxic. So, like, if we look at Suicide Squad, we had like a one big issue that a lot of people complained about is them not caring about source material, them kind of like the art direction for a lot of the characters was not something that people cared about. They changed Mr. Freeze to like Miss Freeze, and it was very preachy with a lot of its dialogue, and it was just something that people did not like at all. And again, for Rocksteady, this is the best that they had to offer. They looked at this and all the things that they're doing here, and they said, yes, this is what's going to get people to buy our game. This is what we want to be proud of. They're on season 4. They've had multiple seasons to course correct and try and give players what they want, but they can't, because they have a foundational disconnect from their audience. It's so that's why I look at a lot of these studios and I'm just like, these studios are dead. Like, we can, like, when you have, what was it, like 500? Yeah, it was 512 people. I gotta move my thing again. Didn't think this through. You've got 512 people just at Rocksteady working on Suicide Squad. And if you include the support staff, you're looking at like 3,000 people. I imagine some of the people in this 3,500 person list are like special thanks to this person, or like someone will put in their dog. They'll put in like the children that were born during the development process. So it's never going to be 100% correct. And a lot of these people that are also going to be listed didn't actually do anything. They're just working at the publishing position. And for the publishers, you just write down everyone that works at the publisher so that you give them credit, even if they don't do anything for the game. But that's a lot of people. This is a lot of people that need these games to succeed so that they can pay their salary. And it's just not, it's not sustainable. Like, there's no way to look at it any other way. So, if we look at it and say, can we revive these studios? Is it possible? And I'm a gambling man, and I would not take any bet for any of these studios to try and revive them and get them working on this IP again. I think it would be more prudent for a lot of these publishers to find trusted individuals and say, you're going to make a new studio. We're going to axe this entire studio, pick who you want to keep. And basically, during layoffs, tell those people, hey, we're going to move you to this new location. And then we're just going to hire people in. And the reason for that is generally for layoffs. If you lay off, like, let's say 30 people from an art team, you can't. Uh, my understanding of the law, at least in the United States, is when you lay off those positions, if you want to hire back into them, you have to reach out to the people that were laid off. And like, a great deal of the people that work at these companies, they need to not work in the games industry anymore. I am not someone that is a ever optimist. There are a lot of people, like, if you are an individual and you hate gamers, I don't want you in my industry. I want you out as fast as possible. If you are a lead and you are teaching people underneath you that you should hate your consumers or your customers, depending on their personal beliefs, I think you need to be out permanently. Not only that, I look at the people under them and I'm like, can these people be salvaged? Is it worth salvaging them? And given the number of people we have in the games industry, I don't think it's worth salvaging them. I think it is better for us to just be like, look, tough luck. You had your chance and you listened to someone that gave you bad advice. That's rough. This is too volatile of an industry for us to be like really, um, what's the word? Like, we can't hold their hands. If they really want to make games, they can make indie games. It is not the most difficult thing in the world in this day and age. You can get a job somewhere else, and in the evenings and weekends, you can build whatever you want to build. But none of us are entitled to work on video games. It is just not like it. This is purely a privilege for us to work in this industry. It is a privilege for gamers to give their time to us and to see this cultural shift in a lot of these studios where people are hating gamers or mocking people for their personal beliefs. Usually it's conservatives. Like, you have hyper liberal game developers that are like, oh, people with conservative views, like, I hate those people. Ha 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 ha. Ha. Even though I think we're a center right country last I checked. So generally the majority of people are more conservative. So when we have more fringe ideology on the left getting shoved into video games, it is deeply unpopular, and it has been causing more issues over time as people have identified to be like, hey, you're putting in a bunch of messaging instead of building a world that I can escape and, like, lose my time in. So again, if studios are always putting out their best foot, they're always putting out the best game that they have, that they can put out. And these games are costing more and more every year because they don't scope them correctly. Everyone's always trying to make amazing graphics instead of picking an art direction and a scope for a game that is reasonable. So, like, Rocksteady Studios, that studio's dead. I don't see them getting another chance after this. I could totally see them getting laid off after Suicide Squad shuts down at, like, what is it, end of January. So, like, not long after that, I could totally see that whole studio just being shut down. It has cost too much money. Any place where it's like, oh, just keeping the lights on is like $10-20 million a month. That's a huge that's such a, like, life-changing amount of money for anybody. And it's just not worth the bet anymore. If these studios have allowed themselves to foster mindsets where they don't care about the consumer, where they're not going to fight for the consumer, where they are going to hate their audience, it's just not worth keeping them. So, I think that's all I got to say about this for now. I'm sure we'll have other examples in the future. Again, I'll post the the GitHub link of what I had here in case you wanted to look at it, check the work, or do something similar to say, I want to compare these two games to figure out how many people are working on them between these two places. It's not perfect, but it gets the job done enough for what it is. So thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. And I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. And I hope your lead up to Christmas is as stress free as it possibly can be. So thanks. And subscribe if you want to see future videos if you're not subscribed. And otherwise, I hope to see you guys again in a future video. Farewell.